This video feels like a good time to briefly remind you, my dear viewers, what this channel is about. While it started out a lot more tongue-in-cheek, it quickly became obvious to me that bad movies had fans who enjoyed them unironically. So slowly, the bad thing but I'm pretending it's good shtick disappeared and I went looking for more sincere points. Although you guys don't begrudge me a few here and there. I do argue against and defend perceived problems, but unless I come right out and say it, the wins aren't about judging whether a movie is good or bad. That's just not what I'm interested in doing with this channel. My mission statement has become, every movie is at least one person's favorite and I want to try to figure out the reasons why. Then we come to the Rise of Skywalker and I'm that person. Okay, favorite is a big word, but my point is that I'm making this video for me. I enjoyed this movie. And if one more person feels like they can be honest about enjoying it after this as well, that's it. That's what I'm here for. Well, they're just coming right out with it. He's back. It seems like your enjoyment of this movie could very easily boil down to that one plot point because so much hinges on it. I guess I'd say pretend for a watch through that it's what you wanted and see how you feel. Call me in the morning. Might as well get this out of the way. I know that it's not what a lot of you wanted. I wouldn't even say it's what I wanted, but here we are. Also a bold move to call back to the Phantom Menace, but like, yeah, Palpy's been the Phantom controlling it from 1 through 9. It's a thing. A little known Elsa saber form where you just drag the lightsaber through their shoulder. Results may vary. Ha, a little dark side Kylo Ren in one action. I'm gonna say this a few times, but the sound design in this one is always on point. Even something we know the sound of, like electricity and lightning, are made creepy and foreboding. I have this image of his cult followers pumping out a Snoke clone. No, he's not ready. His face is all messed up. We need more time.
There's no time. He's got vaguely menacing stuff to say.
Pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.
And let's just say hearing Ian McDiarmid say that line again, a line we all agree comes from arguably the best scene in the prequels. Yeah, yep. You'll hear me complain about the Imperial March with a bunch of Star Destroyers rising out of the ice? You won't.
It's 'cause he cheats. I'm kidding.
Oh, come on, take your turn.
250.
Poe and Finn's relationship. Simply the way these two actors interact and talk over each other, it's all endearing.
He's cheating. Definitely.
How do we thank you? Win the war.
Got the Joker for this role, huh?
What?
Good thinking, Chewie.
Taking your friend's advice. It's like a little Rick and Morty dimension hopping, showing off the galaxy. Visually, we're on point.
Starting to think it isn't possible to hear the voices of the Jedi who came before.
Nothing's impossible.
Funny you should say that. There's definitely a moral, ethical gray area here, but listening to Carrie's daughter Billy talk about how she thinks Carrie would have loved to be the focus of this movie, even posthumously, puts my mind at ease. And I have to give them credit for seamlessly weaving extra footage from The Force Awakens into this movie. It's one of those times where outside knowledge can break suspension of disbelief, but they did just about everything they could to combat it and gave Carrie and Leia a decent final chapter. I'm bringing this up just to say that I'm probably going to leave a lot of these inconsistencies alone. Yes, before the novelization and visual dictionary came out, I assumed Rey and Leia fixed Luke/Anakin's lightsaber with some Force magic. You know, the way they do literally everything in Star Wars. Ryan specifically left it open-ended.
We have everything we need.
But just writing down after the fact that they healed the Kyber crystal with Force magic doesn't mean a better in-movie explanation shouldn't have been given, or any in-movie explanation. Or that maybe some things should matter and shouldn't be undone. So, another day, another Lara Croft reference. Setting up our dyad here. Kylo is taking one last look to make sure it really wasn't Vader speaking to him. By the way, the Emperor does a really good Andy Serkis and James Earl Jones impression.
Every voice
You have ever heard.
inside your head.
And it throws Rey completely off her game and turns her into a lumberjack, which I approve of. Mystic Rection. Oh man, that sounds like a...
Excuse me, Miss Ray, may I please have this tree removed?
Actually, it's even sadder. It's like when you accidentally step on your dog's tail and they're all submissive like they think they're being punished and you just can't apologize enough. Also, I like the confirmation that since in The Last Jedi, Snoke says he connected them, it means Palpatine actually connected them and it clearly can't be undone.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Oof. it's not impossible that some cult members use some Sith magic to raise him, but he's back and it doesn't matter. He's always been just the symbol of evil. His backstory never mattered in the OT, and the PT only fleshed out his rise to power as it pertained to Anakin's fall. More on all that later. Although, Maz, when talking about Rey's lineage, did say this in The Force Awakens.
They're never coming back. There's someone who still could.
At last.
Dark science, cloning, secrets only the Sith knew.
But does he know about Second Breakfast?
Find Exegol. Find the Emperor.
No.
I don't want to go without your blessing, but I will.
If there was one theme in these movies that seems to carry through every trilogy, it's masters telling their Padawans that they're not ready, and then the Padawans going somewhere or doing something anyway. Continuity.
I need to go alone.
Yeah, along with friends.
Definition win.
Never be afraid of who you are.
Good advice, especially coming from Vader's daughter / Kylo Ren's mom. Also hugging. I'm seeing that exhaust pattern and getting the feeling I need to go back, and yep, that is Leia's blockade runner back with her again.
It is.
I personally love that Kylo gets his helmet back, but there is a definite undertone from the Knights of Ren. If you want back in, mask up. So not only are the Knights of Ren evil, they're also space polluters. Makes sense. And I love that Kylo doesn't try to hide that his helmet was broken. He embraces it with bright red welds, which is based on kintsugi, the Japanese art of fixing cracks in pottery with gold lacquer. My take on it is that just because something is fixed doesn't mean it was never broken, so why pretend?
Knights of Ren. Ghouls.
Gulls, as in seagulls?
I said seagulls. Stop it now.
Eesh, brutal.
I sense unease about my appearance, General Hux.
About the mask? No, sir. Well done.
Oh, Hux, you beautiful sycophant.
They sound like a cult. Conjurers and soothsayers.
Somebody get this guy a copy of New Hope. No Tarkin to save you this time. Couple wife win cuties. And like a lot of things in this movie, they were practical little dudes.
Well, that's lucky.
Lucky indeed.
I'll miss you, 3PO.
I've never seen anything like this.
I felt the same way, at least for this trilogy. It's the first time this galaxy feels lived in again. There are things going on that don't have to do with our heroes. Even Maz Kanata's place in The Force Awakens felt like it was set up just for them that day. And Rey would love to see a huge colorful party coming from her own desolate planet with no friends or family to party with. And again, all the natives are practical people in suits doing the dances. The kids are puppets controlled by 3 puppeteers each.
Celebration occurs only once every 42 years.
So you mean the last time it was happening was right around the time Luke saw his sister's R2 recording for Obi-Wan? Generosity. And then they broke Star Wars. Nah, it's the dyad, and one of them doesn't make it out alive.
I got a bad feeling about this.
No feelings were harmed in the filming of this scene.
Give Leia my love.
You should give it to her yourself.
Rey, it's not like Billy D needs help hitting on anyone. They have launched jetpack trooper mode built right into the Sandmobiles.
Not now, BB-8!
We've always been sorta able to tell what R2 and Chewie are saying based on responses, but I feel like you can often almost hear BB-8's actual words. And if you're wondering how BB-8 knew the canisters would be helpful, he noticed them earlier.
Never underestimate a droid!
That's what they say.
Never underestimate a droid.
Ingenuity and teamwork.
Be optimistic.
Terrific. You're not going to believe how well this is going to turn out. It's going to be great.
Optimism.
I am mechanically incapable of speaking translations from Sith. I believe the rule was passed by the Senate.
3PO gets cut off here, but it 100% makes sense that non-Siths wouldn't want any old scavenger to translate a Sith map and unleash darkness onto the galaxy accidentally. It wouldn't be Star Wars without a big monster of some kind. Another new Force ability for the movies, but you probably noticed that Rey's been reading the old texts, and you really think the Jedi didn't have a Force version of Cure 3? Or maybe Rey watched The Mandalorian. It's a yup for me, dog. I admit it's a weird scene, but we find out later that Kylo's goal here was again trying to confirm what the Emperor said by pulling the Palpatine power out of her. So first, he assumed she'd do something, I'm sure, and if she didn't, oh well, she wasn't worth the trouble then. Reddit seemed mad that he'd risk it, but every single lightsaber duel is a risk that someone is going to die. Force users take that risk constantly. And I don't want to call the old "it's just a metaphor, bro," but this is also a look at the dark side versus the light side. The Sith will smash through you while the Jedi like to get the high ground. I think he really shipped them? I'm sorry, this scene is no more goofy than Obi-Wan's spin move during his duel with Vader. Hey, I never noticed they didn't get coverage of them dueling from this angle. Obi-Wan is just preparing to die before he's prepared to die. Anyway, It is meant to be a showcase of Yoda's little words of wisdom and empire.
Judge me by my size, do you?
A skinny little girl taking out a TIE silencer. Combine it with this, and it's simply there to illustrate the divide in her. Dark side, light side, sound design of Force pulls still killing it. Whoops, Yoda was right about the fear, anger, and suffering thing. Also, I guess I was wrong about her being Obi-Wan's descendant.
Ray, I never told you Ray!
Okay, so apparently JJ said he felt that the thing Finn wanted to tell Rey was that he was Force sensitive, so fine, okay. But how is it not that Finn knew she was Palpatine's granddaughter? He says this later.
She's not herself. You have no idea what she's fighting. And you do?
I do. And so does Leia.
And we find out even later that
Because you're a Palpatine. Leia knew it too.
So I'm going with that. Just gonna pretend like JJ forgot. A complaint that comes up a lot is that there are lots of death fake-outs in this movie, but only 120 seconds have passed, so it wasn't meant to be a trick on the audience of any meaning. Just a quick way for Rey to have some serious, perceived consequences for losing control. If you accidentally shoot your friend and you think they're dead, but then they're not, you're still gonna be more careful next time.
Chewie?
So the Knights of Ren are actually just more Jango Fett clones? Ha! Rey said he'd do the same.
I just transferred a bit of life. You would have done the same.
Talk about this?
Just look at his pretty face before you commit to murdering him. Yeah, smart play.
Your friend's old job was running spice.
You know what they say. He who controls the spice will out.
You were a spice runner? You were a stormtrooper?
Were you a spice runner?
Were you a scavenger? We could do this all night.
True, no princesses or farmers this time around. But I'm starting to feel a theme happening here concerning not being defined by your past?
Not that you care, but I think you're okay.
I care.
Making new friends. Ha, ADA compliant ramp for droids. John Williams, if anyone's earned a cameo. Apparently there are crap ton of droid parts from throughout the series, but none seem to be visible in the movie. But they did get Nemesis. Babu Frick is always a win, especially voiced by Moaning Myrtle, who controlled his robotic mouth and eyes with a remote controller.
Remember, go black. You know the odds better than any of us.
Oof, using his own thing against him.
What are you doing there, 3PO?
Taking one last look, sir, at my friends.
Astute observations.
Babu?
Yep, droid is ready.
No, seriously, Babu is amazing.
Shall we destroy the city?
A little Vader, a little Han.
The Emperor's Wayfinder is
Evil 3PO is not something I knew I wanted, but I'm glad it's seared into my memory now.
Might get you on a capital ship.
So like, yeah, it's an insane thing to give him, but hear me out. The galaxy isn't getting better, so escaping Kijimi probably won't change much for Zori, but helping Poe could lead to change, which we know it does, so it was the right call?
It's okay that we're here.
It's okay that you're here.
It's good.
Honesty.
Welcome, guys. Did she do that to us?
Right? Oh, no, of course. It only works on the weak-minded, which is the smartest distraction / insult ever. Not you, you're too smart.
Of course we came for you, Chewie. Yeah, Ray's here.
Ha! Finn's been studying Shriwook.
No, it's true. We're the only ones on board.
You can understand that thing?
Over here!
Well, everyone has anti-stormtrooper aim these days.
Hey, fellas.
Shut up, scum.
Did Chewie miss being called scum?
Ray.
Sneaky Sith.
I promise.
Yes, I was wrong about Obi-Wan and his British accent being connected to Rey, but Palpatine... Wait, does Palpatine have a British accent?
Some consider to be unnatural.
Yes, so I was still right. Ish. Duel through space. You can tell it was filmed with both backdrops and it brings you into the craziness they're both experiencing. By the way, Rey is trained now and Kylo is still basically toying with her. This time he hasn't been gut-shot by a bowcaster.
I'm the spy.
Hugs! After everything Nathan put Caleb through with that robot, he still saves him.
You don't just have power. You have his power. You are a Palpatine.
Okay, more on this in part 2, but I think a lot of us saw this coming, and I see it as part of a middle-of-the-road answer to 2 questions. Why she badass, and how she nobody? The other part is Finn having Force powers. Being a Jedi is still open to anyone, but to play in this story that's always been about bloodlines, you gotta have one. Oh, I love that little Force brace. Force brace, is that a new Force ability?
Ray, I know you.
People keep telling me they know me. I'm afraid no one does.
Kylo Ren's theme under there would beg to differ. Okay, so the dagger lining up generally does work because 3PO does say,
From the southern shore, only this blade tells.
but this is a stretch. Okay, defense of the indefensible. The Death Star was built to exist in space, therefore any elements within an atmosphere, including crashing waves, aren't going to erode the outer shell, and the idea is that it's so massive nothing is going to shift its position. So 30 years later, the dagger might still line up. Too close to call. Sound design of the hollowed-out giant space station is on point again, and for me, this whole jaunt to the Wayfinder is another tour of Shadow Moses years later. I'm never gonna hate it, and it gets Rey back to her scavenger roots. Vader's Imperial March only on strings from when Luke took his mask off. Am I the only one who can smell dead Death Star? Wait, is that door open because she's a Palpatine? It was clearly a secret room, after all. Alright, probably not what you were picturing, but there's the double-sided saber you all asked for. How about these two getting a final confrontation in the place both of their grandfathers had a final confrontation with their Jedi Master? Since they are friends after this counts as a final fight in the rain, which is always a win. So, we get superhero landings all the time, but these are Force landings. I'm sure Wade would like these too. He likes good sound design. Just that shot of the duel in the background. And even though I enjoyed the over-the-top choreographed fighting in the prequels, I always love the raw emotion of sequel duels. Visually, this is one of my favorite duels, with steam from the rain and splashing waves, the sound of the sabers on metal. And again, it works as the climax of this conflict between Sith and Jedi on top of the wreckage of the Death Star. The stretching of the laser giving way to the Force. Also, there is a switch where Kylo actually becomes more composed again and forces Rey to tire herself out, continuing to prove that on a technical level she's no match for him. For an actress that didn't film any new scenes for this movie, Leia still gets an impactful moment. And I love the through line that led us here. Leia tells Han not to give up on their son, which leads to his death. She then tells Luke that she knows he's gone, but Luke says no one's ever really gone. And now here we are for her last act. One that would believably kill her given that she abandoned her training way before Luke and his force projection killed him. I can't quantifiably prove it, but it seems commensurate. But just her one word snaps Ben out of being Kylo Ren. And I understand why it would seem not like an act of love because Rey stabbed him, but that wasn't Leia's goal. She couldn't have predicted Rey's actions. She just wanted her son to feel her presence one last time and make sure he didn't kill Rey. She was a weakness for him in The Last Jedi, and before this fight, he confessed that he thought he could never go home.
You can't go back to her now. Like I can't.
And then, to complete the thread, Rey physically kills Kylo and brings Ben back. Dude, she healed the face wound she gave him in The Force Awakens, too. Also, finally giving Chewie a moment to grieve. He's the last of the old guard. Human, at least. Wait, Chewie's not human.
Hey, kid. Kylo Ren is dead. My son is alive.
You're just a memory.
And one last time with Han. Pander to me, JJ. Undo even your own plot points.
I know what I have to do, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it.
You do.
I'm kidding. I love this scene. If you've been paying attention, you know that Han obviously isn't a Force ghost. Ben Solo is finally seeing Kylo Ren's final confrontation with his dad from Ben's perspective. Han's last act was to touch his son's face in an act of love and forgiveness. This is Ben finally realizing what all that meant. That Han didn't get tricked into this, he expected it and it didn't matter. He'd do anything to reach his son, and even after Leia was shaken, she chose the same. It's an unconditional love that parents have for their children, and it's the antithesis of the relationships that Sith Masters have with their apprentices. Kylo couldn't see that when he was lost to the dark side. It took death and more sacrifice to bring Ben Solo back. This isn't meant to be as complicated as I've seen people make it. Love is Ben's motivation from here on out. His dad showed him love in The Force Awakens, his mom did here, and now that the blinders have been lifted, he realizes there's only one person left who loves him. Of course he's gonna go help Rey. He always wanted to defeat the Emperor anyway, but that's clearly no longer his motivation. He wants to save Rey, even if it kills him.
Dad.
Take your stupid Oscar, Adam. But let's also acknowledge that one line from Han lets us know what that dad from Ben really meant.
I know.
And leaving the I love you unsaid actually adds even more weight to the time he said it to Leia. It wasn't cocky, it was understanding, it was connection, something Ben had lost to the dark side.
As I served you in the old wars, I serve you now.
Honestly, I enjoy Pride so much I actually went back to check if he was in the OT as a young man. He just feels like he belongs in those movies.
I need you in command with me.
Well, this droid has it. Thank you.
Taking the time to be thankful.
General.
Okay, so Yoda blew up the tree with Force lightning, Luke projected himself across the galaxy, and now Luke catches the lightsaber. We know that Ahch-To is an important place for the Force, so it stands to reason. Strong Force location, strong Force ghost powers?
Jedi's weapon deserves more respect.
Even though I was hard on Mark Hamill in my Last Jedi video, honestly, I love that he gets this moment. I understand that playing a character and building up who he is in your own mind to have it undone with something you think outside the realm of acceptability for that character, I still don't for the record. It would be hard. I won't begrudge him one last snarky comment. Yoda has always had an outside-the-box approach to all things Force-related, and now Luke does too.
I'm never leaving this place. I'm doing what you did.
I was wrong.
And please don't start on me on how that is a contradiction. Luke realized he was wrong at the end of The Last Jedi.
I will not be the last Jedi.
Both Luke and Leia's faces were just scenes from Return of the Jedi, and Carrie Fisher's daughter is standing in as her mother's body double, which sort of makes me want to just go sob for a little bit.
It was the last night of her training.
There's something more than nostalgic about this scene, probably especially since we didn't know about it until now. Leia's theme in the foreground, what looks like the middle of a storm, yet they're still calm and collected. It's quick, ethereal, otherworldly, and I'd watch an entire series about Luke training Leia. I've been keeping my cool here for the most part, but this got me in theaters. Getting to see Luke not try, but doing the very thing he believed was impossible, and the reason he failed, all set to the same Yoda and the Force score, one of my favorites from all of Star Wars. And again,
Powerful light, powerful darkness.
We need to put some hold-on maneuvers.
Come on, that move is 1 in a million.
Okay, that one's a little extra winky at the audience, but at least the universe is unbroken now. Y-Wings! The visualization of the Emperor's temple as if the structure is suspended off the ground. Ooh, did he liquefy all the Snokes?
Jam the speeders. I can't, sir. They're not using speeders.
Ah, classic Star Wars misdirection. Wait, are they in space? No. Poe did say the ships couldn't escape Atmo a couple of times.
Stuck in Atmo. Is Atmo reading?
Centering this last battle on the main destroyer with a ground fight and the aerial battle in the background actually makes it less chaotic. I don't know, is it just me or does Ben run like a hero now? Like he's lighter somehow? I just like Ben Solo. No look kill, like father like son. I love this story thread. I like that we've been building towards these two using their connection to work together for 2 movies now, and it's fulfillment of something I couldn't even put into words at first. The idea that the connection between the two of them was more powerful than Snoke, who had no idea what was happening, and now the same of Palpatine. That the dyad is something special that you don't see often, and it's another correction the Force is trying to make to bring balance back to the Force. And I freaking love that handoff. Not to mention Ben with a blue saber. Badass good guy. Adam Driver is always a win. I know you're gonna be mad at me because so many hate this movie and probably hate his turn and loved him as Kylo Ren, but Ben Solo, alive now, a showcase of Driver's talent between these two disparate characters. That Han shrug, he is a Solo. That nonchalant, yeah, I'm with her now, sorry guys, this is the thing we do. I'm glad we all seem to agree Adam Driver is amazing. Also, yup. And no, sorry, I'm not surprised that the actual Sith/Jedi, whatever he is now, the only Force-powerful warrior using a lightsaber made quick work of his knights who were just like guys with cool weapons and masks. And Palpy, you must have downgraded your Praetorians because none of these ones have been able to disappear a weapon from their hand. Guess the Gladys arm was the trade-off? Yep! Get out of here with your cold dead heart. This is all Star Wars is. Light versus dark. That's it. Worst part about the Final Order was the Dementors. Get me. Yeah. Resistance, Rebels, Republic, whatever. It's like almost every ship that's ever Star Wars in there.
Nice flying, Lando.
But poor Wedge just does not get a break. Let the man retire. And a Y-Wing does something too. Look, I'm not gonna look a gift Babu Frick in the mouth, but you're bringing him into a battle? Yeah, I'll allow it. I'm sure he's Force sensitive. And if you're wondering how Zori got off Kijimi without that token, I think there's a little confusion. Obviously, getting onto and off of Kijimi is not hard since the Falcon landed there no problem. Zori says,
I've saved up enough to get out. I'm going to the colonies.
And Poe says,
How? All those hyperlanes are blocked.
Nothing was stopping her or anyone from leaving, just from going to the colonies. Alright, sound design. I call that... her assistance?
Be with me.
From the first moment I heard it in Force Awakens, Rey's theme has been one of my favorites, and its juxtaposition to the darkness and defeat here makes it stand out in the best possible way.
Bring back the balance, Rey, as I did.
Anakin, Qui-Gon, Yoda, Kanan Jarrus, Ayla Secura, Obi-Wan Mace, all gone but all telling her to rise. It just works for me.
Every Jedi who ever lived lives in you.
The Force will be with you. Always.
Also, yeah. Ooh, love the sound of the saber flying through the air but not shown.
I'm all the Jedi.
See, she's got Bolt 3, obviously she has Cure 3. I haven't taken the plastic off the remake yet, I'm really sad. And if you felt like this was all unlimited power and flew in the face of Luke throwing his saber away, I feel the need to remind you that Luke had Anakin to bank his life on. Rey's only got, well, all the other Jedi Force ghosts. But she doesn't actually attack, she only deflects the Emperor's lightning back at him. Oh, have a little pride. Millennium Falcon to the rescue again! Kylo Ren's theme still holding Ben down as the score rises in anticipation. I don't actually think this is the answer here, but it is possible Ben could have read the same text that Rey did during his time with Luke. But the Force is less about magic incantations, waving your wand, and correct pronunciations.
It's Leviosa, not Leviosa.
That's been the theme of this trilogy at least, which I know upset some people. It didn't bother me because that's always how I've seen it. That's what Yoda lifting the X-Wing out of the swamp was about.
Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter. You must feel the Force around you, even between the land and the ship.
Rey had heard stories about Jedi mind tricks, so after Kylo opened her up to feeling the Force, she embraced that same feeling and tried it out. Rey healed Ben, so Ben knew it was an ability the Force offered, and he used it knowing full well he'd have to transfer all his life force energy to Rey. Okay. So I did mention the slight romantic tension in Last Jedi. I feel that their relationship goes beyond romantic, though. They have like a spiritual connection that probably doesn't have an equivalent for us. Kylo and now Ben has always been drawn to her, and her to him as well. Baby steps. And all was right with the galaxy. Gonna go out on a limb and say that's Han's medal from A New Hope, which would have more meaning to Chewie if Lucas's whole Wookiees don't like medals retcon is your poison. Based how he's showing it off to 3PO though,
What about you, kid?
I don't know.
Well, let's find out.
It's his daughter. I know Billy D can't turn off his animal magnetism. It's not his fault. Triple pugging. Our three heroes in front of the Falcon, Chewie, 3PO, and R2 under the wing of Luke's X-Wing. Come on. Love Rey's theme with almost a pensive Skywalker theme building up underneath. Rey back to her roots, sliding down a sandhill, back to Star Wars roots. Yep, white gold saber made from her staff, blending her scavenger past with her Jedi future. Also, I know the novelization says it's one-sided, but it also says it's the inverse of Dark Rey's, which was double-sided. And the section of her staff they used is pretty symmetrical. There's no spin knob on the bottom, so... Okay, so also going frame by frame shows a green and then blue lights, potentially crystals, so something cool is going on and I'm not sure what it is.
Rise Skywalker.
And like I said in my Last Jedi video, it's not about where you're from or what blood runs through your veins. It's always been more important that you choose who you want to be. I've got a few more thoughts about that for later. I know some people were confused why BB-8 wouldn't have stayed with Poe, and I just took this to mean that Rey was gonna come back. I know the movie is over, but maybe this time you three could, I don't know, work together, create some kind of democratic system that can't immediately be taken over by the Sith again? So yeah, it was hopeful for me. Like Poe was busy hitting on Zori, so BB-8 went on a little jaunt with Rey. And obviously one more end where we began with our double sons on Tatooine. Okay, so you know that this is part 1, and if you're from the future, there's a card up there with part 2 in it. It'll also be in the description, but almost 30 minutes and I didn't get to the conclusion at all. I have a lot written and I'm still kind of organizing it, so I'm hoping to have that by the end of next week. More thoughts about this movie, as well as kind of how it fits into the trilogy, how it doesn't fit into the trilogy, as well as how it fits in with the rest of the numbered movies. So here's to hoping that I don't end up cutting all of that and make this a lie. I'm fairly confident it won't happen. Bold move, you might be thinking, to do a 2-part video for a movie that nobody but me liked, but apparently that's just how I'm rolling right now. And then after that, I'm gonna do a movie that's 10 years old that I really like that nobody saw, but I promise you'll like it. And then another one that everybody hated but I liked. I don't know what's going on, I don't know why I'm doing this. But I'm gonna keep doing it because it's keeping me going. Side outro. Here's my dog doing something hopefully cute or funny.